Sandy here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am playing with this awesome stamp set. It is from the May Inspiration Box. It's called Reach for the Stars. It's got all these great planets, stars, spaceships, aliens, an astronaut, all kinds of cool things. And I am going to be doing a galaxy partial background, and I'm going to be using this stencil, which was the stencil of the month for April. Some Distress Oxides, some super cool prism sequins, and then my photos are going to be of these two mouse droids. I'm going to trim them down though, so you don't see everybody's feet. So let's see what I can do. Alright guys, so this layout is actually going to look a little bit funky and weird at first, but I promise you it is going to be worth it in the end. It is practically magic. Now I do go ahead and pull out my mixed media mat. I don't know if you've noticed, but I got myself a new one because the old one was just torn apart. I am using Distress Oxides in multiple colors, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply the oxide down on my paper. And I'm doing it so that there is a good solid amount of color. You don't want to see your white cardstock underneath of the oxide. You definitely want to have kind of this thick layer. Now I did do some pencil lines kind of as a weird starburst almost, like a partial starburst. And if your oxide is thick enough, you're going to actually cover up those pencil lines and you're not even going to be able to see them. Now I do use a bunch of colors: red, purple, yellow, orange, green, blue. I think I have 2 shades of blue. And you don't have to worry about blending. You don't have to worry about 2 colors overlapping each other that don't produce a very pretty color when they are mixed together. You don't have to worry about any of that. And that is the beautiful thing about this technique, is the underneath, the bottom layers don't have to be gorgeous, because when you're finished with it, your top layers make it gorgeous. So you just want to make sure that you don't have any of the white background peeking through your ink, and you also don't want to have any white spaces. So as you can see, I just went ahead and finished doing that kind of weird shape. And then I'm going to take my black soot and I'm going to apply ink over all of it. Now this black soot ink pad is not a Distress Oxide because I don't have a black soot Distress Oxide. I just have the black soot regular Distress ink. Now you don't want such a thick layer of the black soot where you can't see the color poking out underneath of it. If you do that, your result at the end is not going to be as awesome. So you just want to make sure that you have this layer of the black over top of these colors. And I did go overlap outside of where the color was because I didn't want to have any edges where the black didn't completely cover up the color. So when you're doing this, you don't have to really worry about lines or if you're getting edges from your blender brush. Now I will say that I do prefer to work with a foam blender when I'm messing around with distress inks. I feel like I have better control and better coverage with them as opposed to a brush. So I really can't tell you what your results would be if you wanted to try it out with brushes, but if you do it this way, you're going to get some awesome results. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill in a couple spots, make a couple spots just a little bit darker because you see an awful lot of the color pop through. Like up here where that blue is, I just wanted to add just a slight extra layer. And you can just barely see the color poking through. And that is the base that you want. So next, what you're going to do is grab a stencil And I like this stencil because it is a repeating stencil, so you can match your edges up and keep using it over and over again. Now this is a slimline stencil. It was the stencil of the month for April 2021. And I'm going to grab some Fallen Snow Glitter Glaze. Now you want a clear / white glitter glaze for this technique to work really, really well. You're going to go ahead and grab your favorite palette knife, and you're going to run the glitter glaze over top of your stencil. And you can already see on the stencil that the color of the Distress Oxide is pulling up through that black soot distress ink, and you're going to get a super cool effect. Now I'm not going to make you watch me glitter up this entire area, but what I did is just grabbed a sheet of black cardstock and kind of recreated that weird starburst kind of effect. And then this is going to be the background. And look at that. Isn't that cool? I just think that this is the most amazing thing ever to do with glitter glaze and Distress Oxides and a stencil. Like, it's just cool, you guys. So I trimmed down that black cardstock. I'm going to add some adhesive, and I'm going to place it down here. Now, of course, you could do that background on a card. You could do it on a full layout. You could do it all the things. But as you can see, like, it didn't matter that my colors weren't blended together. It didn't matter that colors that normally wouldn't blend well together were next to each other and had some overlap, because the background is utterly magical. It just is. It's just awesome. So now I'm going to trim down those mouse droid photos, and these are going to go in the center of the layout. So these aren't like beautiful, perfect photos. And I gotta tell you guys, like, I spent a lot of time on this layout with the laying down of the ink, and then the glitter glaze, and then the stamping, and I painted in all the stamping. Like, this layout took a good amount of time, and I totally love it. And it doesn't matter to me that the photos aren't absolutely, perfect photos. The photo on the left actually is a little blurry, but it's going to be awesome in the Star Wars portion of our Walt Disney World story. So I am going to trim down the photos a little bit, and that's just so I can get both photos on one sheet of 6x6 mirror stock. And the mirror stock is pretty awesome. It's got this iridescent kind of psychedelic background to it. And since I'm only using it as a photo mat, it's not going to compete or overwhelm the background that I have going on. It's actually going to complement it instead of like making your eyes go haywire and crazy because you don't know which sparkly thing to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out where I want the photos to overlap and how I want them to look. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of fun foam, and I'm going to place it on the photos. That way they're just popped up a little bit, so there's a little bit of lift and a little bit of space between the photos and this awesome glitter glaze background. So now I'm going to pull out that stamp set, and I'm just using some white cardstock here. I'm trimming it down so that it'll fit into my Misty tool, and then I'm going to decide which stamps I want to use. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out the larger ones because I am going to be coloring these bad boys in, and I'm going to kind of just arrange them all on the white cardstock here just so that they fit and nestle together because I am going to individually fussy cut these bad boys out. Now I am using the detail ink in Raven from Brutus Monroe, of course. It's my absolute favorite black ink, and I just used my ink refresher, so I was excited to see how that turned out. So I'm going to tap my ink pad on top of my stamps, and then go ahead and flip it over. Now the beautiful thing about this was the ink pad was nice and juicy, and I got great coverage the first time, so I didn't have to restamp, which was fantastic. Like, it's good, crisp, black images. So then I just flip my paper around and I go ahead and ink up the stamps one more time and go ahead and put those down as well. So now I have 2 of each image. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and then I'm going to grab my Chroma Mists. Now I love these Chroma Mists. I pull out, I think, all the colors I have. I have all of my mists sorted together kind of like in a rainbow order. So I think I pulled out all the ones that I have. I have blue, purple, red, yellow, and green. And I'm just going to take a really thin brush and dip it directly into these Chroma Mists and color them in. Now, if you wanted to, you could kind of treat these like a watercolor and put it on a palette and water it down a little bit. And then that way it would give you a lighter color. But I really am going for dark, deep colors here because I feel like that needs to happen with the background. Like, I don't want these guys to get lost in the background. So I end up painting those all up, and then I fussy cut them all out, which I did not make you watch. And then, as you can see over here on the left are all of the little bits and pieces. Now that satellite that is half green and half blue, I cut the legs off of it because I really didn't want to fussy cut it, and I didn't want kind of white in it. I just didn't want to, which is kind of crazy because on one of the planets with a ring around it, I left the white there. It was more important to me to have the ring around the planet than it was to have the white space. So now I'm just going to take these guys and kind of sprinkle them around the photo and have them kind of radiating out from the photo. And some of them I am just adhering down flat, and then some of them I decide to pop up on some foam squares as well. Now, I'm trying to say a word and I can't figure out, my mind is not working as fast as my mouth is. The stamped images, I did color them all the same. So I have 2 of each and I colored them both the exact same. Now that planet I did place upside down instead of right side up like it is kind of in that middle section, but I like it like that. Just like the kind of comet, I have that going in opposite direction as well. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in with all of these little guys, and then I'm going to grab my white pigment ink. It's actually officially Alabaster, and I'm going to grab some more of the stamps off of the stamp set, and I'm just trying it out on a scrap piece of black cardstock to make sure that it's going to go well. And then I put on this quote that says, "You are out of this world." And then I'm going to go in and grab the little bits. So the little stars and the little teeny tiny planets and all of the extra little spacey bits. I'm going to just ink up and just sprinkle around the page with no rhyme or reason, no thought to it. I'm not planning it out. I'm just inking up the stamp, and then whatever I think looks good, that's where I'm going to do it. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in the planning of it and like where exactly things need to go that we just don't have to worry about that. We just go for it, and our initial reaction usually is a pretty good one. So this time I put the 2 stars together, and I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle those around. So you can see like there's a good amount now of white stamped images on my black cardstock, and that's giving it a little bit of contrast and kind of ties together this whole page, because this is a pretty busy page, you guys. And not busy in the fact that there's a ton of different paper layers, but there's a lot of technique-y type things on here and bright colors. So I'm going to take a white pen and go ahead and just outline the black edges of the layout. And I think that that just kind of ties in with that white stamping. Now I feel like I need an official title, but I am going to go ahead and glue down some of these pieces. Now, if you're ever gluing on top of glitter glaze, I always suggest that you use a wet glue so that it really adheres and grips and gets in the little nooks and crannies. Now, I've pulled out these Simple Stories letter thickers that I got on the Brutus Monroe website, and I'm spelling out the word droid, which is awesome because I've spelled out a lot of titles with these, and I've still got plenty of great letters left. So now I'm going to go ahead and pop up this rocket ship because it was a little leany, and I didn't want it to be leany. And then I'm going to dig into my stash and find these little yellow letter stickers, and I'm just going to spell out the word mouse because this is a mouse droid. And it was really cool while we were there. Like it kind of operated on its own. Even though you knew somebody was controlling it, it was cool. It seemed like it operated on its own. So here's a couple of close-ups, and then let me know if you guys have any questions down below. Of course, I will also link some of the products that I use down there, and I will see you again real soon for another video.